what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it.
There's a lot of debate on Jalen Milroe in the chat right now and what kind of quarterback he is. And I'll say this, it's as interesting of a quarterback breakdown as I've ever seen, as there's some stuff that you would say, well, he's not that good, right? Like the 13-5 touchdown to pick ratio isn't necessarily anything to write home about. But he's also the second highest rated passer in the SEC, even with that 13-5 ratio. He's completing 65%. I don't exactly know how, but he is. He's got a rating of 174. Jane Daniels, of course, in first at 204. Brady Cooks at 166, along with Carson Beck, so right behind Milroe. 10.6 yards per attempt. So, again, explosive, right? Milroe is not a volume guy, but he is efficient and he is explosive. And for all the talk of, oh, you've got to get after him, I don't know, Jake. He's been sacked more than anybody in the SEC, and I don't know that it really has mattered that much. Alabama's given up 35 sacks on the year, dead last. But as Chad points out, Jalen Milroe is completing 75% of his passes when pressured.
Yeah.
I think he's got an NFL passer rating of going into their last game. So I don't know how much has changed against Tennessee, but I'm guessing it got better even, honestly. He had an NFL passer rating of like 125 when pressured. So, like, yeah, you can get after him, but for the most part this year, he's made up for that for explosivity. So if you're really trying to stop this Alabama offense, you just have to try to cut down on the explosives, which really goes back to everything that this LSU defense has been working on all year long, trying to get better at least.
Yeah, I'm sitting here. I'm looking at his breakdown, Jalen Milroe's breakdown of games, and obviously he didn't play in the South Florida game, which still is head-scratching why they made that decision to start Buckner, and then Ty Simpson came in. But when you look at what he's done the last couple of games, certainly they've been against better defenses, against Tennessee and against Texas A&M. His numbers have gone down. His grades have gone down a little bit, but he is still a player that you've got to be careful with because – like T-Bob said, like in the chaos, that's kind of when he plays his best, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's why he's in there. Because if he wasn't, like, they really like Ty Simpson in Tuscaloosa. Ty Simpson came in against South Florida, and it was chaotic in the backfield, and he did not do well. I mean, he was just basically standing there, taking shots, didn't know what to do, couldn't step up, couldn't find time. Milroe is really good at that. He is really good. And I'm not talking about like rushing, escaping, and running down the field. I'm talking about buying time to be able for his receivers to come open. And so that's what you have to do because when he does that, then you think, oh, well, I've been covering this guy for 4 seconds. Surely the ball is either out or he's on the ground, and he's not. And that's where he really lives and thrives in. So that's where you have to be careful, T-Bob, because he is not back there to be a guy that escapes and then becomes a runner. He escapes to become a passer still.
Yeah. And so what role do you think Harold Perkins plays here? Obviously, Perkins is a spy on Bryce Young. This was like just a master class in spying a quarterback last year. In that nickel Sam role, he doesn't do as much of it this season. Brian Kelly did talk about how much having Omar Speights has meant to this team. And look, let's be clear. They're going to try to run the ball. And so we'll get into that. But what kind of role do you think Perkins plays this week?
I mean, he'll spy Milroe for sure. It won't be probably as much as we saw last year, certainly down the stretch where Harold Perkins was on there because he's been so good in coverage and because you need some coverage guys.
Yeah.
And he's done a really nice job there, but he'll have a role. Like, that will be him. And I don't know how much you use it. Is it on third down, Steve? Is it on 3rd and 7 where you don't want to get your back broken because you have everybody covered up and he runs for 8 yards? I would assume they're going to pick and choose their spots. Now, one thing that they do really good is they'll disguise a spy. He's not just going to line up right in the middle and just shadow him. I mean, he'll line up on the edge, and then he'll drop into the spy role. He could be a situation where he's on the slot, and then he kind of motions in like he's going to blitz off the edge, and then he ends up in the spy role. So that's really the challenge for me. I like him in that role. He thrives in that role, but don't just show that role. Even if you want to line double A Muggs right there with him and Spates, and then maybe Spates does end up blitzing, and then you have Perkins drop out to become the spy. Just don't line up in it. And I think that is a position that Harold does such a nice job of, and Milroe's not played a player like that. He's not had somebody spy him that has that kind of closing speed.
And make no mistake, Harold Perkins is back in Harold Perkins form. For Matt House, man, we talk about get out of jail free games, golden ticket games. This is it. You get enough out of this defense this game, we will, praise when praise is due, criticism when criticism is due. If you somehow take this defense that is so injured and suspended to all hell and young and inexperienced and you do well, that's something you can hang your hat on.
Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.